dark world of human relationships to animals is absent here. Here, in these children's paintings, animals are wondrous creatures, living out their own lives free and unmolested, in companionship with people and in the wild. Absent the view of animals as property and objects of amusement. Absent here the uses of animals for human needs and pleasures. And here, animals are not some lesser form of human beings whose suffering matters little. We fill our children's world with animal playthings.
You want to look at the animals for a minute? Before we go upstairs, we have 20 minutes to kill.
Safe, sanitary toys, crowding out reality.
They're good pets.
The ones we know and love. Casualties of an urban society that administers social problems but is unable to cure them. Pets, pleasing gifts one day, expensive luxuries the next. In New York alone, the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals takes into its shelters some 60,000 abandoned pets each year. In England, the RSPCA receives some 200,000 unwanted dogs and cats each year. Governments prefer it this way. Charity employees, lowly paid and overwhelmed by the numbers, do the dirty work.
Do you think there are enough homes in cities in general, good homes for animals, where they don't end up strays or abused?
Not really. Not really.
They're selling too many animals.
The pet shop is in business for, they're in business for one thing, to make money.
Come here, Jason. Stop. Stop, Jason.
God damn! Come on. Come in, Rich, I can't move.
Going up, yo.
Spook him, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. Come on. You
got him on a leash, right? I know, but I only have one leash. That's why. Come on.
His other dog is in the truck. It'll cost him to collect it at the shelter. After 2 days in the shelter, it will be put up for adoption. And usually, not having been adopted after a couple of days, it will be killed. In Britain, the practice of dog catching doesn't exist. The RSPCA sees no purpose in it.
day like today, nobody wants to walk them, so they let them come out and walk themselves. Go back home. And they walk them, this is when we get them.
The animal shelters serve as a dumping ground for unwanted pets. The organizations formed to help animals are compelled to waste much of their resources in collecting and destroying them. Most of these animals will never see new homes. A vet employed examining the unwanted pets notes their ailments. These puppies have ear mites and are judged not suitable for adoption. 3 simple measures could halt the overpopulation of pets: a ban on mass breeding of pets for profits, a ban on pet shops, and mandatory low-cost spaying and neutering. A cheap spaying and neutering program in Los Angeles reduced the city's death toll of animals by 56,000 within a few years. Killing methods vary internationally, including poisoning, decompression chambers, electrocution. Many organizations supply former pets to laboratories for experimentation, but the ASPCA and the RSPCA do not. Emaciated, but otherwise healthy, the dog submits to the injection, a massive overdose of barbiturates, one of 33,000 such doses administered annually by the ASPCA. The RSPCA also uses the injection method, although some units still use electrocution. Corpses, sent to the renderer, turned into animal fat, used for bars of soap and glue. One might imagine that nations of pet lovers could demand that this processing of excess cats and dogs be stopped and the alternative substituted. But this move would clash with the interests of the multi-billion-dollar pet food industry. Genuine social responsibility for pet keeping means an upheaval of great vested interests.
I love animals. That's all I can say for myself.
Buy animals?
Oh, of course, but my building not allowed, but I buy for other people. I tame it, I train it, and I give it to my children.
What do you think about people making money from buying and selling animals?
Well, what do I think of people doing it? I don't like them. Those people I don't like.
Isn't that what pet shops do?
Well, they do. That's why I don't like the pet shops. I never did.
What do you think about eating animals?
Eating? Well, that we all eat.
I don't.
Oh, you're vegetarian,
Yes.
right? Well, unless I was brought up with meat, so I guess it's my fault.
Have you thought of changing?
Oh, I do. A lot of times I get fed up eating meat, so I don't.
But not permanently.
No, because you're brought up with that. So I have a daughter that's a vegetarian. She won't eat any meat, so it's okay with me. I never, whatever you feel like doing, you just do. See, I was brought up to eat chicken, meat, so isn't that I go out of my way for it. It's a habit, that's all. Habit forming, like everything else.
This is a picture of one of my best cows that my wife just painted. She looks at cows a little differently than I do, I guess. And this is a closed-circuit television. that we use for watching the cows in the freestall barn. We use it mainly for catching cows in heat. And with the time-lapse recorder here, we can watch 18 hours in about 40 minutes. Cows walking out on pasture use up a lot of energy. This way they don't.
I wish they could go outside, but I don't know. They're okay inside. I mean, they get air and stuff, so it's okay.
They don't mind it.
Sometimes, but they can run around, so it's okay.
And you ever see how they feel?
Yeah, when you let them loose, they come running around all the time. But some, their hoofs are too long and they can't walk very well, so we have to wait for them. But other than that, they're okay.
Masses of farm animals in controlled environments, automated feeding and waste removal. This is the worldwide trend in animal agriculture, factory farming. 1/2 of all dairy cows in the United States are permanently confined.
It's not really cruel. We probably keep better track of the cows in a barn like this than we would out on pasture, but I guess it's more with nature to let them go out and graze.
Cows' udders are used intensively, as if detached from the living creature, as if part of the milk machine. The infection of the udders, known as mastitis, is unavoidably aggravated by factory farming. Disinfectant applied liberally to the udders remedies the situation, according to this chemical company's advertisement in a farming journal. Human beings are the only animals which drink milk beyond infancy and drink the milk of other species. Meanwhile, powdered milk makes the only food veal calves are given for their entire lives. Separated from their mothers within a couple of days after birth, these calves spend their lives in a windowless shed, in darkness except for feeding times, tied in their crates so they cannot even turn around.
The way I got started, I wanted to get out of the school administration, so I went to my banker, and he suggested veal operation, so I looked at it and enjoyed it very much. I liked what I saw. Some feel that it's rather cruel to the animals to keep them tied in there, but I point out that they're in a controlled environment. The weather is, they never get real hot, or in the wintertime it's never zero weather. There's no fly problem, and as a result, really, they've got a pretty good life in there, although they are chained.
The slotted wood floors simplify waste removal. The extreme restrictions on movement, the all-liquid, iron-deficient diet, the low light levels, all serve one end, to keep the calves' flesh pale and tender. In a word, anemic. The calves are penned in such a way that they could not lick the urine-soaked floorboards, which they would do, to satisfy their craving for iron.
It's been a very profitable business. We really enjoyed every phase of it, except the confining.
What do you mean by confining?
We have to be here 7 days a week, 2 times a day for feeding, or else arrange for somebody to be here. And it has to be done on schedule. If we don't do it on schedule, the calves will not eat properly, and therefore they don't gain as well. And it makes stress in the animal, and when you get stressed, you get into your red meat problems also.
Diseases such as pneumonia and acute diarrhea are prevalent and commonly wipe out 10% of calves raised in such conditions.
The purpose is to make the meat real light-colored and pink, and as a result, it's a much more delicacy-type veal. And the special milk fed makes it just strictly a delicacy, and it's used mainly in restaurants, hotels.
This life for 100 days, then slaughter. In Britain, anesthetics must be used, but in America, routine mutilations such as branding, castration, and dehorning are carried out with no anesthesia. In the United States, most beef calves are allowed to graze for only a few months before they are rounded up and trucked long distances to feedlots. Penned in, the steers live out the last few months of their lives being fattened on high-energy grains. As many steers as the population of a medium-sized city live in this American feedlot. Similar enterprises are owned by giant oil and insurance companies. There are now 1/2 as many farms in America as there were 50 years ago. The family cattle ranch is rapidly becoming a relic of the past. With these new methods of beef production has arrived a new disease, cattle shipping fever. This is the single biggest killer of American cattle and is caused by trucking calves many hundreds of miles without adequate ventilation, without food, water, or rest to the feedlots. Antibiotic feed additives are used to lessen the mortality rate. Growth-promoting chemicals are also routinely mixed in feed. Upjohn agricultural sales, $295 million annually. The beef producers' view of steers as food machines rather than living creatures yields some amazing ways of economizing on fuel costs. Cement dust mixed with grains accelerates weight gain, lowers costs, and increases profits. And even cattle's own excrement can be processed and mixed into their feed. Both these dietary innovations were developed by the United States Department of Agriculture. Meat is regarded as the only good solid food. Yet meat eating is not universal to all cultures, nor is it the most nutritious diet. 20 pounds of plant protein fed to cattle yields only 1 pound of animal protein fed to people. The amount of food which could be freed for human consumption were beef eating abandoned could help end world starvation.
To me, it was all inclusive. It was Irish to the Irish. It sounded Scotch to the Scotch. It was a typical English-American word. It flowed. McDonald's. It was easy for the kids to say and remember. And I liked the sound of it. It sounded wholesome and it sounded genuine, you know? I don't like these gimmick-type names, you know. Burger this and burger that and all that kind of stuff. McDonald's, it's got a nice sounding name. It sounds like Tiffany's. And I think we are the Tiffany's of the hamburger business.
The average American eats almost twice the protein his body can use. American livestock are fed as much grain as all the people of India and China eat in a year. Meat eating is successfully promoted as an emblem of affluence. In the Third World, more and more intensive poultry units are being built.
Yeah, chicken. How about that?
Hatcheries specialize in one strain of bird for either egg-laying or meat production. The strains for egg-laying aren't good enough for meat. Thus, the males of the layers strain are dumped. Small or injured birds are selected for the same fate. Slow suffocation, or the quicker way. To be ground up into animal feed. Separation of parent and offspring is always the first step in intensive animal agriculture. A mother hen would have helped it out. Modern poultry production is not designed for the needs of individual birds. When thousands of birds are crowded indoors, the weak cannot escape the dominant. In frustrating conditions, the birds peck each other bloody. To prevent loss of carcass value, Poultry are subdued in darkness, and their beaks are cut off. De-beaking. It's like cutting toenails, a poultry producer remarked. Yet the shock is great enough to kill, and it often does. Mutilations, such as de-beaking, are factory farming solutions to the problems this system itself generates. Disinfected sheds, without windows, to guard against disease. Temperature, airflow, lighting, all automatically controlled. Not yet automated is the daily collection of the dead. Bred indoors, poultry have little disease resistance. The remedy? Spray vaccines, antibiotics mixed in food. Chickens were the first animals confined indoors, in disused army buildings after World War II, and the complete manipulation of their life cycles, which is developed, stands as the model for the exploitation of all other farm animals. "90% of all poultry in industrialized countries live in these conditions of confinement. In extremes of crowding, 24 hours a day after day, for their entire lives. Four or 5 months of this life, and they are sent to slaughter. The natural lifespan of turkeys is 7 to 12 years. Egg-laying chickens in cages. The ultimate factory farm. Automatic feeding, watering, waste and egg removal. One man can tend up to 50,000 birds. Just a few hours work a day. 30,000 units such as this produce 95% of Britain's eggs. In the United States, 250 million birds are living in cages for egg laying. Worldwide, the numbers reach into the billions. Powerless to help themselves if the automatic system malfunctions, the birds are entirely at the mercy of technology. A hen's egg production declines after a year or so, when they are sent to slaughter and used for soups and pet food.
You can gain a faster buck, but you can lose the bucks faster too. You get a chicken disease in there, it can wipe you out overnight.
The deep pit waste removal system accumulates the chicken's excrement underneath the cages. Those birds that have been allowed somehow to fall through will eventually starve to death in their own wastes, to be tracted out at the end of the cycle.
I was never particularly emotionally committed to animals. I didn't have pets or things like that. But when I was a philosophy student at the University of Oxford, I was interested in philosophical problems about human rights, human equality, and so on. And I got to meet some people who were vegetarians for ethical reasons. And naturally, when you have friends and you find that you go in for a meal and they don't eat what you eat, you ask them why they're being so fussy. And they started to tell me, and the more they told me, the more it seemed to me that there really was a problem here, that if we believed in equality or rights for human beings, then there was no good philosophical reason why we could say that they stop just at the end of our species and don't extend to other animals as well. Since they can feel pain, they can suffer just as we can.
Of all farm animals, the most feeling, intelligent creatures are pigs, naturally exploring and playful. In this modern hog farm, the sows are tied to the floor. The boar takes them at will. It's the rape rack, joked the pig farmer. Continuously re-impregnated sows are completely immobilized for weeks, before, during, and after birth. The piglets are born onto metal gratings and concrete. Crowded sows tend to fall and crush their young. The pork producer does not consider giving these sows more space. A more economical solution is to give them no space at all. The farrowing stall is a cage slightly larger than a sow's body. The The farrowing stall provides the remedy to another one of factory farming's self-generated problems. $95 million pigs are slaughtered in the USA each year. Half are raised on factory farms. Slotted floors allow excrement and urine to fall through to underground canals, which lead into slurry lagoons. "10,000 pigs confined in 2 buildings presents an intensive waste disposal problem. Lakes of excrement ferment for months in the open air, an ecologically hazardous system. Trade magazines persuade the farmer to keep up with the trends. These publications are supported by big corporate advertising. They promote capital-intensive, technology-intensive farming, and of course, this benefits their corporate advertisers. The worldwide trend to intensification of animal agriculture is also advanced by research projects funded by tax monies. Whether it's a centre in Cambridge, England, in Missouri, USA, or here at the Agricultural Research Institute in Ottawa, Canada, research pursues the application of technology to further develop the profitability of the animal machine. Here, the next candidate for factory farming is being prepared. Lambs may soon be living on metal gratings, suckling on rubber teats. A fistulated goat used for the study of digestion. Its digestive fluids are pumped from the fistula, the permanent hole in its side, once a week, every week, for its entire life of 5 or 6 years. The director of this institute, Dr. Gao, has stated, We're trying to breed animals without legs and chickens without feathers. No need for cowboys. A new way of making seed bulls exercise without having to round them up or herd them outdoors. Bulls used for artificial insemination are to be kept chained all their lives, except for the once-a-week occasion when they are allowed a 20-minute run. During transport of farm animals, a number die or are injured from the shocks of a completely disorientating process. Chickens are dragged from their cages in darkness and hurled into bright sunlight.
What do I think of non-human animals?
I haven't given them a lot of thought.
Terrible. Non-human
Pigs are driven into the trucks with electric prods.
I use this bat here for loading out boars. If you get two boars fighting, they can cut themselves up pretty good with it, and I go through and I bust their noses. Usually after you bust their nose, gives them something else to think about, and then easier to load them that way.
I love them.
Do you eat them?
No.
You're vegetarian?
Yeah.
How long have you been vegetarian?
Oh, about 6-7 years. I think it's wrong to kill an animal because we are two-legged animals, but we could have very well been four-legged animals too.
In loading cattle, the same is true as for all farm animals. Speed is what counts.
I like animals.
Do you eat animals?
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
You like animals, but you eat them?
Uh-huh.
No contradiction there.
Logically, there is.
The slaughter of poultry at its most modern and humane. Birds are electrically stunned before killing.
If I see him get killed, I wouldn't eat it, but
If I don't see it, I wouldn't mind.
In the course of 1 year, American slaughterhouses process over 3 billion chickens, turkeys, and ducks.
So I eat animals. Yes, I do. I'm a meat packer.
You're a meat packer.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I never thought about it.
Well, now that you're thinking about it.
About eating an animal.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't eat a dog or a cat.
Well, why not?
I don't know. They don't seem too tasty.
Because they can't talk and whatnot, they think that it's right because it's a four-legged beast. Just take them and do anything to them, but they got feelings.
Electricity knocks them unconscious before they are killed. The modern, humane slaughtering of pigs.
Steak, liver, chicken.
Is that okay?
Yeah, pigs. It's okay. It's good. It's good.
Every day in the United States, 360,000 pigs are slaughtered. Providing the slaughterer accurately aims, the captive bolt pistol knocks the cattle unconscious before they are killed.
Yes, unfortunately, I eat animals. I once thought that if I really only ate what I could kill, I would stick to fish and chicken. But I eat other animals also.
Why do you say unfortunately?
Because I'd like to live by my principles, but I don't.
It's the only way I could survive. How else could you survive?
Nah, just don't eat no meats, period. It's no good for your digestive system.
American cattle are slaughtered at a rate of 100,000 a day. This huge process, the transformation of animals into food.
In McDonald land, there's a hamburger patch. The story opens with Ronald harvesting the hamburgers from the hamburger patch. We feel that the children have a great deal of influence on their parents about where to go to eat. That's particularly true in America. We're probably one of the largest children's advertisers in the United States. We spend the most money on children's television.
Don't underrate the strength of the vested interests of various kinds. Agricultural, scientific, and particularly in the chemical and the pharmaceutical industries, and especially, of course, factory farming. All these are enormously strong vested interests with great amounts of capital invested in them. I'd better talk to the Home Secretary's office in the light of that fact, but I wasn't able to say just what the Society had or had not done. The trouble with animal organizations is that they're fragmented. In many cases, they're rivals. In some cases, they're overlapping. The reason why the animal welfare movement has failed to achieve its purpose over the years is because it hasn't understood politics, it hasn't understood Parliament, and it hasn't had the will and the courage to exert the maximum pressure on the political position.
Animal welfare organisations internationally are in crisis. While traditionalists cling to the original concerns, progressives are campaigning also against the massive uses of animals in factory farming and laboratory research. The oldest and wealthiest animal welfare charity in the world, the RSPCA, has been at the centre of the struggle, with traditionalists moving to oust the progressives.
We cannot approve of an action which has lost to society an exceptional opportunity to influence changes in legislation. This action has slighted a Minister of the Crown.
Compromise, a very interesting word. Your council does not believe in compromise. We live compromise day to day.
This society must not compromise. We have to stand up for the animals, and we have to fight hard against the exploiters. We have to guard against infiltration. If the RSPCA has been so successful for the last 150 years, how come we got 400 million animals in this country suffering in terms of our own policy?
To expel members from the council, from the society, not just the council, for promoting what they think is the right thing in animal welfare. There is no motion to expel factory farmers from the RSPCA, is there?
6 months later, the RSPCA Council meets behind closed doors to consider the expulsion of Richard Ryder, leader of the RSPCA Progressives. However, traditionalists have a failure of nerve and withdraw their motion.
My major concern is the RSPCA is not campaigning for animal welfare. It's become a puppet of Peter Walker's Ministry of Agriculture. But the people that don't want radical progress in terms of experiments on animals, in factory farming, on blood sports and other issues, grave issues, the expulsion of Ryder is obviously a ploy to diffuse a radical campaign.
We threaten their cosy little world of coffee mornings. And the sort of people are the people who are concerned with cruelty only in as much as it affects uncontroversial issues like dogs and cats, which are of course very important. But their biggest fear is that they don't want to upset the apple cart, they don't want to offend people. We cannot campaign against cruelty without offending the people that perpetuate the cruelty.
The Second Stage of Cruelty by Hogarth. The beating of horses in the streets of London provoked the founding of the RSPCA. Their intention was to prevent cruelty to domesticated animals. They could not anticipate the wholesale exploitation which was to come. Charity, the institutionalization of almsgiving. From its origins, charity has been an alternative to social change. Does almsgiving to a beggar change the society which creates poverty? An organisation using direct action to end hunting has emerged in Britain, the Hunt Saboteurs Association. More than 1,000 activists are regularly out saving the fox, the hare and the deer by sabotaging Britain's traditional hunts. But the saboteurs have their work cut out for them.
Will you get out of the way?
To this day, there are more than 500 organised hunts in Britain every week.
Where's that? There's a fox. That's not a robin. That's some robin. Get on. Let them go. Let them go.
People feel it's cruel to chase the deer across countryside so many miles, scaring it with a pack of hounds, that it could be shot and killed much more easily.
But every animal chase each other, doesn't it?
Well, not with 50 men on horseback and a pack of hounds.
Oh, they don't. I don't think they mind. They're either killed or they're not. I think people who don't understand might think it is cruel.
What don't they understand?
But they don't. I think people who don't understand hunting and shooting think it's cruel. Don't you think they do?
What is it that they misunderstand? What should they understand?
Well, I suppose they don't like seeing a deer hunted and killed, I suppose.
This is the tradition which concludes the stag hunt, a 5 centuries-old blood ritual which still goes on every week in modern Britain. The most gallant rider wins his trophy, the hart.
Could you take that?
Others receive the hooves.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
White leads by a length, but Red's closing and closing fast, and the hare swung round, but White still leads on the outside by half a length. But they swung very wide, these young puppies, and White's fallen, and Red's getting in. White leads by 4 points, but Red's closing. Half for Red, 3.5, 2.5 points now. White leads by only 2.5 points, and Red's rapidly closing the gap. Red down to 1.5 points, 1 point now, half a point. It's getting desperately close to the good race, and we're waiting for the judge on this one. Okay.
In the end, quite a few of the hares are killed. It's not a form of control, it's not meant to be. It's purely and simply to test greyhounds one against the other. As such, it's probably the least defensible blood sport of all. Our intention today was to try and clear the area of hares so that when they came along with their greyhounds, there simply wouldn't be anything for them to course. The hunt saboteurs does attract people in who have just got a gut feeling about hunting. They come in, they're influenced by other people in the movement, and as a consequence do become active in other spheres of animal rights.
Shooting and everything's cruel, isn't it, really? I love hunting, of course. I've done it all my life.
It is an honor to introduce the president of the first American International Fur Fair, Mr. Kenny Wagner.
Ladies and gentlemen, the time is now. More than 2,000 people here are to witness that this fair is no longer a dream. The drama of accomplishment and the moment of fulfillment are upon us. In the last 25 years, our industry in the United States has grown from a $212 million industry to approximately $725 million. And I firmly believe that within the next 5 years, we will reach $1 billion. the American fur retailer and department store operator, who had the courage to continue on with furs during the dark periods, are now being rewarded.
Sparkling diamonds, catching the light. Beautiful people, beautiful people, all wearing Ah, look at that girl. She is beautiful. What do you think, folks, huh? Yeah. And we have a threesome looking classy, I tell you. Keep the light on these birds. I'm going to see these birds. The audience wants to see them too.
It is deceptively simple. It's a hinged ring of steel with a powerful spring. When anything touches the small plate, the spring snaps the ring shut with tremendous force.
Yes! There they are, folks! Where's my lady? There she is. And here she is all by herself and looking gorgeous. We're getting ready here now. Mr. Booth, we are about to go here. Come with me. Come on. Yes.
Down with Koch! Don't buy furs! Down with Koch! Don't buy furs! Down with Koch! Don't buy furs! Down with Koch! Don't buy furs!
It's a Russian lynx and a Russian crown sable.
How many pelts?
84, 85. And in the Russian lynx, there's 20, 22 skins. You got about $400,000 in those two coats. That's a natural Alaska lynx. It's another $100,000.
I love them. I would take a dim view of making a purchase of a fur coat if I gave it any thought. I just eliminate it from my mind.
I think that it's a shame. It's a pity.
Then why are you wearing it?
Because it's here. It's available to me. I didn't do it personally.
Oh, that's a cat. And they are not a endangered species.
And don't they suffer?
Oh, sure, but they have to die sometime. These are raised on a farm. You know, these are not wild animals.
Good news to fanciers of turtle steak and/or turtle soup are these hard-shelled critters just in from happy hunting grounds off the Florida Keys. They comprise one of the biggest and the mouth-wateringest hauls of the deep-sea denizens ever to hit the dock. Upside down and completely helpless, they're lugged unceremoniously off to the cannery. At this point, it's just as well a turtle only sticks his neck out once. Still unaware of their fate, they breathe easily as a junior skipper almost turns turtle trying to keep his balance on a reptilian perch. Seems he recognizes a friend. Well, he'll soon be in the soup himself.
Research in marine mammal capabilities is culminating in a unique approach to underwater search and recovery. A sea lion located and attached recovery hardware to a fleet weapon. The system has a demonstrated recovery capability to 500 feet. For depths greater than 500 feet, there is the whale.
Apart from human beings, the whale has the most highly developed brain of all living creatures. Why is the circus popular? Does our laughter stem from a feeling of superiority to the bear who has difficulty dancing on a ball? Our thrill from a feeling of domination over the wild creature taught to perform tricks for our amusement? When the eyes staring back at us from inside the cage are flat and dead, extinct, who will retrieve for us our lost companions? Remaining wildlife habitats provide scant refuge. In America, game animals are allowed some space to exist. 250 million are shot by American sportsmen in an average year.
It's more than 100 years since Darwin pointed out the biological kinship between us and the non-human animals. And I feel, therefore, it's only logical to say that there should also be a moral kinship, that we should all be in the same moral category. If we can all suffer, then we should all be given similar respect. We should be accorded similar rights based upon our sentiency, our capacity to suffer. It's particularly, I think, discreditable that scientists who more than other people know and believe in the biological brotherhood of all the animals should so totally exploit the other species merely, it seems, because they are of another species. And I've coined this word speciesism because I feel that our prejudice against the other species is irrational and small-minded and selfish in the same way that racism is, in the same way, if you like, that sexism is. Speciesism is by far the greatest and cruelest form of exploitation in the world today.
Come on, Rat. Okay. Is he hurting someone? Let's see.
Vivisection, the act of cutting living animals for the purpose of scientific research, any experimentation with living animals causing pain or distress.
Okay, pull back.
Dr. Kenneth Casey at the University of Michigan Medical School is assisted by a student in handling this rat. The rat is being used as part of research into the memory process of human beings.
Sure, bar cheese. How's that do? Not much. Not much. Well, he's not interested in it either. He's only interested in getting out of this box. No, there's no way of studying the nervous system without having a nervous system to study.
How about clinically, studying human beings?
No, you can't study the mechanisms. Here we can record directly from the brain. We can implant electrodes and make continued observations. We can subsequently sacrifice the animal by giving it an overdose of anesthetic and then remove the brain and study the histology, find out where our electrodes were, and do that a number of times with different animals.
Is the rat's brain a good model for the human brain?
Not really. A rat brain is quite different, but it is a mammalian brain. It's a small, well-organized mammalian brain, which has many similarities to the human brain.
Rodents are the sacrificial victims of modern biomedical science. It is estimated over 300 million animals die in laboratories worldwide each year. the vast majority are rats and mice, guinea pigs and rabbits.
There are a number of drugs which were tested on animals which have subsequently proved to be most dangerous when applied to humans. And vice versa. There have been drugs which, if they had been tested upon animals, on certain species would have been found to be very dangerous, might never have been released on the market. An example is penicillin, which is extremely toxic to guinea pigs, but fortunately Fleming and Florey did not test it upon guinea pigs.
At Upjohn Company, they are persisting with attempts to develop a new drug to prevent stomach ulcers occurring. The test group gets the potential preventative agent. In the process, 100 or so rats are given ulcers every day by oral injection of pure alcohol direct into the stomach.
FR is the agent absolute alcohol or ethanol.
A control group develops ulcers within a few hours.
They don't object very strenuously for this. It's just very easy.
Both groups are then killed with carbon dioxide. Over 10 years of research on ulcers has been carried out in this lab. At 25,000 rats a year, more than 250,000 rats have been used in this one project. At the time of filming, there were no breakthroughs to report. Similar research is going on in pharmaceutical companies throughout the world. Whichever company patents a new drug first stands to reap huge profits. An Upjohn scientist estimated that in the course of 1 year, Upjohn Company uses some 250,000 rats and 500,000 mice.
Rats are so easily come by, they're cheap, they're easy to use, it's easy to reproduce experimental results. I think a lot of researchers just think of them as another experimental tool like instruments or a piece of apparatus. I work for a large international pharmaceutical company. I have a job as a scientific officer. I wanted this interview to be anonymous because I feel almost instinctively repercussions would be serious. From working with rats in a lot of tests, I've come to believe firmly that they're extremely intelligent, aware animals who enjoy human affection when they're given it. A large group of rats were subjected to experiment with a particular chemical whose effects on the nervous system were very well known. And I saw rats with spasms, unable to walk, in semi-paralysis, obviously extremely distressed, shaking, scratching their noses, scraping their paws, the extent to which they bled in trying to relieve the irritation, dying in agony, and also being cannibalized, even when alive, by their cage mates.
Do you think animals suffer just being in a laboratory without any experiments being done on them?
Unquestionably. When the animals are to be put on an experiment, their situation is made even worse in that they're removed from a kennel or a cage in which they're kept with other animals, and particularly cats and dogs become very distressed when they're on their own, because if they're laboratory bred, they're used to spending all their time with other animals, and during the course of an experiment they're usually kept on their own in isolation. I believe that many of the experiments carried out on animals are unnecessary. They're often repetitive. They're often due to the patenting of drugs and other chemicals. Companies keep the results of their experiments secret. where if the results were compiled between organisations, then some of the experiments would be unnecessary. I personally believe that a lot of the drugs produced are unnecessary.
What if someone said, doesn't know what she's talking about, she hasn't seen enough, and she's just over-emotional?
I don't think I am over-emotional about it. I haven't told you about how very deeply I do feel about it. I'm sure that any number of people could, if they wanted to, tell you the same things. The incidents which I've described aren't unusual, they aren't rare. They're what happens every day to millions of animals in this country and every other country where work like this is carried out. The place I work for has a particularly good reputation. I'm sure much worse things go on in other laboratories.
LSD test. Here, monkeys are made into drug addicts. Morphine addiction is the norm used to evaluate the addictiveness of new drugs by researcher Dr. James Woods. This research necessarily subjects monkeys to withdrawal experiences. Over $2 million of tax monies have been given to this one research project.
We try to have other scientists here at the university use the animals as much as they can. We trade animals to the extent that we can. We use animals in many ways in many different experiments to make the maximum use of the animals that we can. And, our research is reviewed by a committee of people who are very concerned about the ethical issues associated with animal research. A group of medical scientists here at the university. They're independent of us, and they assess any sort of ethical considerations involved with our research and okay it.
What are the priorities when extraordinarily expensive research is undertaken primarily to perfect a laboratory technique without application to a specific medical problem? In Holland, microsyringes implanted in the monkeys' heads release mind-changing drugs direct into their brains upon radio signals from outside their cages. Is artificial heart research, which experts admit is an unpromising area, of sufficient importance to benefit societies which as yet cannot or do not provide basic health care?
80 to 90% of the experiments licensed under our 1876 Act are not carried out under anaesthetic. Now, in this country, the controls are far better than in most other countries, but even so, severe pain is allowed and is inflicted.
Filmed clandestinely in Canada, these piglets' hind legs have been intentionally paralysed. Such footage is very difficult to obtain. In Britain, public and press access to animal laboratories is effectively banned.
It's purely a function of my current and the amount of current I put on, you see. I can turn it around and leave it at any level I want, either low or high, and he will do the same thing each time.
We have 60 electrodes implanted, and we'll keep them in anywhere up to 4 years. If you had a stroke in which you were paralyzed in a limb so that you could not move it voluntarily, we could theoretically stimulate those parts of your brain, as we are in the monkey and the brainstem, which are not damaged by a stroke, producing the movements that you would ordinarily do, and we could program these movements and give you a switch, as it were, or buttons to push, and as you push them, your arm would reach out and get a piece of food for you, or it would write for you, or whatever.
Yeah, well, it's one thing to experiment on animals, but I don't want anyone experimenting on me.
But that's just the point, Fred. Because they check this out first on animals, well, they're pretty sure then how it's going to work on people. I'm sure that this operation they planned for you is way past the guinea pig stage. Otherwise, your doctor wouldn't have ordered it. And you know, I'm also sure that a good many dogs or some other animals have had this operation and are alive and kicking. Otherwise, you wouldn't be getting the new operation. You'd be getting the old one. And the way I see it, anything new in medicine is usually a lot better. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been developed in the first place.
There is the psychological vested interest of the person who has a career in animal experimentation. His academic career may depend upon him doing certain experiments, getting his PhD, and so on.
In laboratories, and zoos, and school science fairs, and modern factory farms, and all these and more, animals are treated as things as if they had no value in themselves. This treatment must be stopped, not only because it is a good thing for us to be kind to animals, but because we owe it to them. When rights are violated, justice, not kindness, is at issue. Their defenseless state, their inability to speak out for their rights, makes our duty to help them all the greater. Tomorrow they will suffer. Tomorrow they will be killed unless we act for them today. And act we must. Respect for justice requires nothing less.
An anti-vivisection poster on a laboratory wall.
He basically put that up there to keep us in mind of the ethical restraints that we have, and also, as a point of fact, to poke fun at some of these organizations, which do have a tendency to exploit extreme facts and blow them out of proportion, so as to perhaps stop research and even limit it, you know. And a lot of it is malarkey. It's not true.
What is this Millennium Guild named on the poster?
That is an organization I really don't know too much about, but they want to stop some research, that pain research and stuff like that, and things they think are extraneous and not necessary researches. And basically they're misinformed. And they really don't know.
Sleep and insomnia research. This type of experiment is in the category of painful procedures allowed to be conducted with no anesthesia. The cat's life processes being monitored would be distorted by the use of anesthetics. ALAS, the Association of Laboratory Animal Scientists, Trade Fair.
How many did you have at night? Not 2 dozen. I get that many times.
In Washington, D.C., designed to we support the rights of biomedical researchers to use laboratory animals. We are called the vivisectionists as opposed to the anti-vivisectionists. We monitor state and federal legislation and regulations which might hinder animal research. We provide testimony on Capitol Hill.
Charles River Laboratories, one of the many companies breeding lab animals, sells some 14 million laboratory animals a year. Profits rise with the widening uses of animals in research.
Some of them even breathalyzer.
funded by medical schools, veterinary medical schools, allied trade, pharmaceuticals, medical associations.
What's that? I keep my money in there. No, those are mouse cages.
I haven't talked to the demonstrators. I've been busy. I didn't come here to talk to demonstrators. I came here to do business with this organization.
But, Doctor, look, isn't there a less painful method?
As a practicing veterinarian, I can tell you that animals get much better care in research than they do in most people's pets.
That, my dear friend, is how science operates. Repetition, duplication. But what good is that to mankind?
You have to have your trust in someone. You have to have your faith in someone. The same persons that are in those facilities in many cases will become your family physician. Are you going to trust the man as your family physician? Well, there's certain secrecy among research in some areas, I presume, for the same reason there's a certain secrecy among people who produce automobiles. Almost anything in a manufacturing line in a capitalistic system.
At the Upjohn Company, this dog, its heart exposed, was found and filmed with apparently no staff in attendance. At the Upjohn Company, this dog, its heart exposed, was found and filmed with no staff in attendance. While research remains the domain of scientists alone, unaccountable to outsiders, it will be impossible to assess how representative this incident is.
Imagine yourself making something and doing something that you think is very, very good for society. And you're very proud of this work. Now, wouldn't you want to show society this work? Wouldn't you want to tell society about what you're doing and make it very open to the public? We have tried time and time again to get animal researchers to discuss with us in public merits of their research, what kind of pain and suffering they're causing the animals, and comparing that to the sort of social and general welfare benefits for human beings. We have gotten nobody to do this, and today's incident was just very typical of this and very, very unfortunate. That is, we tried to talk with Dr. Al Moreland, who is head of the animal research facility here, and he refused to talk to me because I was not part of the elite, because I was not a scientist. So somehow I'm not part of the in-group.
An outsider can see and feel things that the inside group might, through habituation or consensus or whatever, simply not be seeing.
The more they attempt to hide, the more suspicious one gets about what they're doing, and the angrier I get.
Monkeys raised with surrogate mothers develop rocking behavior. This is used as a model for neurotic family relationships. To produce psychotic behavior, other surrogate mothers were rigged with spikes. This experiment, filmed some 10 years ago, is still being elaborated upon. Alaux, the inventor of it, has remarked, "Most experiments are not worth doing, and the data obtained not worth publishing."
What's up? What's up? What's up, huh? What's up? You got flies all over you. You got flies all over you.
Lake Village Commune, Kalamazoo, Michigan, home of Roger Ulrich, behavioral psychologist.
Oh, you're a new one, huh? You a new guy?
In the 60s and early 70s, Ulrich's US military-funded research on aggression involved freezing, burning, starving, and electroshocking monkeys, rats, and cats.
I didn't even recognize you. You're one of the new ones, huh? Oh, goodness sakes. You born this morning? like hours. She's just born. Okay, hi, Mona. So you finally had your baby, huh?
While continuing on the faculty of Western Michigan University, his research activities have since taken a new direction.
When I told my mother what I did for my dissertation, which was, I explained it. She said, well, what did you do? And I said, well, I studied rats and I shocked them and I showed that pain produced aggression. She says, well, we know that. She says, Grandpa used to always say, your grandpa always said that, stay away from animals when they're wounded. Okay, and I said, okay, that's a certain level of, and she was right. We knew that, but we didn't know the milliamperage that it took to make a rat, an albino rat, fight. And that's where science goes. It continues to explore some train like that.
These rats are in an aversive environment because every now and then both rats get shot in the feet.
Excerpts from a widely used film made by Ulrich 7 years earlier, showing his research.
Try to escape or avoid, and if you can't escape or avoid, as you can see, the result is aggression. Monkeys have the same reaction to pain. They fight too.
Well, the question of the ethics of doing this type of research, putting pain, an animal through pain, was something that came up the day I walked into an animal laboratory, and the day I started doing animal research. It was something that came up, and it walked with me every inch of my career as a professional scientist. I mean, that question came up from groups of anti-vivisectionists. It came up from myself. It came up from friends of mine. It was always there. And we had to deal with it, and we dealt with it in terms of, we put it on a scale, and we felt that what we were doing was legitimate in terms of asking questions that we knew no other place to get the answers from other than using animal subjects.
No other place to get the answers about aggression than animal subjects?
That's right.
Haven't there been great thinkers throughout history that have been concerned with violence, social conflict, and who have not done painful research with animals?
Yeah.
Have they not contributed anything to knowledge of human beings?
They've contributed a magnificent body of knowledge to that. A magnificent body of which I appreciate very much and read and am interested in, okay? But they were not coming at it from the point of view of behavioral scientists, which also has contributed a beautiful, magnificent body of knowledge.
How then do we attempt to control aggression? Punishment. But unless the punishment we employ is so severe as to be terminal, what are the chances that aggression can be stopped through the use of punishment? Back in the laboratory, several experiments have given us answers to this question. As in many laboratory experiments, the environment is made aversive by the scheduled delivery of painful tail shock to the monkey. When allowed to vent his aggression on the bite hose, the monkey appears relatively relaxed between the scheduled shocks. When we attempted to punish this aggression by shocking him twice as hard every time he bit the hose, we got two reactions. Some monkeys began to bite the hose even more. Though the punishment was introduced to stop such behavior, it actually made the environment even more aversive, thus producing more aggression. But monkeys aren't dumb, nor are they necessarily masochistic. And in a short period of time, each monkey stopped biting the hose and thus averted the punishing shock. None of the animals could be considered less aggressive, however. Instead of biting the hose, they bit their own hands, scratched their face, or assumed a slump position characteristic of humans labeled psychotic or neurotic.
And we were willing to take money from the Office of Naval Research to do our basic animal research. And we're also willing to take money from the Office of Naval Research to make a film called Understanding Aggression, in which we question very, very sincerely, more so than probably we've seen questioned on a lot of film, the use of force in a heavy, heavy way to bring about the change of human behavior, okay? I mean, you've seen the movie.
A chamber was equipped with two hoses for monkeys to attack. The environment was made aversive, and then the favorite enemy was determined by which hose the monkey bit the most.
When we tried to punish the monkey for attacking his favorite enemy, it was obvious that aggression was not suppressed. In fact, the monkey continued to bite the favorite enemy and increased his attack on the less favored one. By the time the first punishment session was completed, the monkey had bitten 10 times more than usual. Although eventually this heightened aggressive reaction to punishment was reduced, any time the monkey was likely to get punished for aggression against his favorite enemy, more aggression was directed toward his less favorite enemy. If you're interested only in controlling one specific form of aggressive behavior, then punishment, in a certain narrow sense, does work. But if you're interested in making the organism generally less aggressive, punishment is not the answer. These two rats are fighting because one is attacking the other. Why? He's a mercenary rat. He's getting paid to do it. The wires leading into his brain are capable of carrying electrical current to the pleasure center, a very potent reward. When the rat attacks the other rat, he receives his payment, a short electrical impulse. Here's the same rat attacking a cat. This shows just how powerful reinforcement of behavior can be. When the mercenary rat got too good at his trade and made the cat's environment aversive by causing the cat a mild amount of pain, she ceased her peaceful coexistence strategy and terminated the annoying rat's mercenary life. The cat illustrated the only sure way punishment is capable of completely stopping one individual's aggression: capital punishment.
Listen to your vocabulary: punishment, aversive environment, mercenary rat, reinforced behavior, capital punishment. Look at your activities. The military funded your research during the height of the Vietnam War. The U.S. government and the U.S. military has been involved in teaching repressive regimes, for instance Chile, how to torture political prisoners or how to extract information from them. Doesn't your work link up with that sort of repressive system?
You want me to say, okay, now let's turn to philosophy. Of course my work links up to that, you know. We all are one. We all, in the end result, are intrinsically linked up one with another. Everything you do and everything I do is linked, okay? And together, brother, we are linked up with Chile and the repressive regimes all over the world. You and I reach out, and together, in this technological world, you holding things made by multinational corporations, are linked up. Together, we assume this responsibility. This information on aggression must reach those people in control. Maybe a parent, maybe a student, maybe an admiral. Now, one would maybe think that we could have picked up on this by observing the ineffectiveness of our riot control techniques.
Riot footage in Ulrich's military-funded film. Ulrich says when the Navy saw his pacifistic conclusions, they took their name off the film.
Has it been proven that the research with animals has come up with anything that's helped us in the area of cancer research? Smoking is dangerous to one's health. And yet, we're still exploring the effects of nicotine, the effects of smoke on animals. And the scientist himself is smoking. He's not attending to some of the data that's come out already. I guess that's the point I'm trying to make. We don't attend to the data. The things that I discovered in the basic scientific laboratory were meaningful, are still meaningful to me. They help. I went through that. It's part of my past. I cannot erase that. I cannot be dishonest about that. It's a part of me. It's a part of my roots. And
do you have any remorse about the suffering that the animals in your laboratories experience? Do you personally have any feelings of regret about the suffering that the animals were subjected to in your laboratory?
When I think of what it feels like to be lonely, and when I think what it feels like to get shock, which I've gotten many times, when I'm feeling down and so forth, and I think of what Ralph, one of my squirrel monkeys, went through, and what different things went through, I think, geez, I think, You poor son of a bitch. Come on, hustle, hustle. Hustle over. There's becoming more and more people that are starting to say, so I do live a little bit longer. What's the quality of life? How happy am I going to be under these circumstances? What it seems that humans are willing to do is go to any ends, to sacrifice all the rhesus monkeys in India if we can go out of this life feeling no pain. We're so addicted to continuing our way of life and doing what it is that we feel good about.
In fact, the majority of laboratory animals are used for commercial, not medical purposes. Identical products with virtually identical ingredients carry different brand names in order to compete for the greater share of the market. Every new brand of toothpaste, every new improved brand of floor wax, every new product has to be tested on animals, not to find an antidote for accidental poisoning, but to arrive at a statistical rating of each product's toxicity. This is a commercial testing lab in Pennsylvania. The LD50, that is lethal dosage 50%, involves mixing poisonous substances into animal feed or force-feeding these substances to lab animals until exactly 50% die.
Oh, I've had experience with LD50s for almost 10 years. An LD50 is essentially a lethal dose to 50% of a population, and it's a statistical calculation from calculated from the number of animals which die at a series of dose levels.
Toxicity testing under US or British government guidelines is conducted with no anesthesia, sometimes over periods of weeks.
This is a coded material. As a testing laboratory, we rarely know exactly what the materials are.
Now, she aborted approximately, 3 weeks ago or so?
Right, and during the implantation period, she just began to hemorrhage very severely.
Do you think the animals suffer?
No, I don't think they, in most instances, they do.
The skin irritancy test. The eye irritancy test. Rabbits' eyes do not tear, perfect for testing caustic substances that must remain in the eye to do their damage and must not be washed away by crying. The following giant corporations have reported conducting numerous painful tests on animals without any use of anesthesia. Allied Chemical, American Cyanamid, Avon, Bristol-Myers, Ciba-Geigy, Colgate-Palmolive, Dow Chemical, Hochst-Roussel, Hoffman-La Roche, Monsanto, Pfizer, Ralston Purina, Standard Oil of California.
Yes, there are alternatives. Take, for example, the production of vaccines, which used to be produced in the living animal. In the case of the rabies vaccine, in the brains of living animals. Polio vaccine is another example. Now, these are produced in the test tube, as it were, in the tissue culture, and they're produced more cheaply and very much more safely than they were in the living animal. This is just some examples. The Ames test is another instance of this. This simple test tube technique has revolutionized certain aspects of pharmacology, and what we would like to see is far more effort to develop humane alternative techniques of this sort.
Newspaper ads, combined with an international leafleting campaign, pressured several cosmetics companies to fund research into alternatives to the eye test. The $2 million donated represents a minute percentage of the company's annual profits, but it is a significant concession to an emerging international movement.
Animals protesting animals. Well, I just don't believe how they can do something like that. People on a Saturday morning, they have nothing better to do but protest about animals, you know? After all, we're all animals, right? After all, aren't we all animals?
I happen to agree with them.
You agree with them, but, you know, it has to be a purpose to it, right?
NYU.
Right, I read about that, but then again, if people would be liberating animals, how would mankind be able to strive for the technology they've achieved thus far, you know?
Right here. Person kind. Liberate your language.
But it's not suffering, it's justifiable suffering in a sense, don't you think?
Is it justifiable to behead a cat in a guillotine? Is it justifiable
Is that what they do?
They do. They have Blaylock
Yeah,
crushers. They have noble column drums. They put dogs in hyperbaric chambers.
But aren't you talking about anything to an extreme is no good, all right?
What goes on at NYU is extreme. $10 billion of taxpayers' money squandered on vivisection, which is the torture, torment...
I'm not that familiar.
That means the torture, torment, and slaughter of laboratory animals. There's the Ames test, to test chemicals for cancer. We want these to be more extensively used, and we also want many more extensive mathematical and computer modeling. We want mass chromatography, gas spectrometry.
Specially trained German shepherds go through a refresher course after arrival in Vietnam. They've been used successfully as scouts and for sentry duty following stateside training. A GI imitates a Viet Cong, giving hand and arm battle signals, and the dog proves he's learned his lessons well. Basic training for each animal runs to about $2,000, but it's obviously a good investment. If this had been an enemy gorilla, he'd be out of action after that mauling. So extensive has been the use of these dogs that many have been wounded and a few killed in action. Their swiftness in preventing sneak attacks on U.S. bases has also proved them invaluable. In Vietnam, the old motto takes a new twist, and a soldier's best friend is his dog.
Section 1, if you go down the wounding pit, you can pick up your animals there.
At the wounding pit, the demonstration animal is anesthetized, utilizing intravenous Nembutol in an anterior jugular vein.
You know that
At the demonstration table, the animal is prepared for surgery. Our purpose is to teach a familiarity with principles and practices which, if well learned on the laboratory animal, may later be responsible for decreasing morbidity and mortality in combat, and to demonstrate on living animals the effects of weapons of warfare. Students are extremely grateful for the opportunity to learn the principles and techniques of what is a neglected field in the average medical school. Having participated in one debridement, they are certainly better qualified to perform that first one in combat or in a similar situation.
This monkey was used to test a new recording device for reading levels of electroshocks as they pass through the bodies of living animals.
If you're concerned about animals, the way people regard that is that there must be something wrong with you because you're probably being overly emotional and overly sentimental. And I used to apologize for that, and I used to think, well, maybe there is something wrong here, that I do feel very badly when I see a monkey being shocked to death, literally. And I feel bad, and I empathize with that monkey, and I feel horrible. But I no longer apologize for that because I think that we've regarded emotions somewhat as being unscientific and something we don't want to deal with. Here we are pouring tons of money. You know, science is big business. You know, it's not just the lonely researcher in the lab discovering truth. You know, it's highly funded by the federal government. It's controlled by the federal government. It's our money that is being funneled into these things. And what do we get out of it? Well, do we get a science for the people out of it? No, very little of the research has any direct benefit. Very little of it trickles down to the people.
In 1946, shortly after the explosions at Hiroshima and Nagasaki, animals were loaded onto this ship in preparation for the American atom bomb tests at the Bikini Atoll in the Pacific. Shaved, tagged, and immobilized on the open decks, they are left to face the full blast of the explosion. This test to record the effects of nuclear weapons on animals was known as the atomic arc. A few years later, military researchers subject donkeys to lethal doses of radiation to test its effect on them. This project was initiated in 1951 and is still being conducted under funding from the US Department of Energy. Ulceration of the gums. Ulceration of the anus. Bleeding from the mouth. Lethargy. Collapse. And finally, death. All these symptoms were observed and recorded in human beings after the explosions at Hiroshima and Nagasaki, long before this experiment was conducted. This research has been in progress for over 29 years. A tethered dog is hit by the full blast of a Chinese A-bomb explosion.
The effects of nuclear weapons on a large biological specimen. After the fury of the burst had spent itself, a round-the-clock operation was set in motion. Biomedical teams hurrying in to recover the animals. The primary cause of death was mechanical injury to the organisms due to translation. Those animals in the open which escaped total missile injury survived temporarily until the massive radiation they received took its fatal toll. The mortality rate, nearly 100%, can be applied to man.
2 a.m. to 8 a.m. is a work period. The next 6 hours are devoted to rest, followed by another work period from 2 p.m. until 8 p.m. 6 more hours of rest complete the daily schedule. The total dose of 500 rads received by the monkeys would be considered lethal in man if accumulated over a shorter period of time. 500 rads of gamma radiation, delivered at the rate of 50 rads per day, failed to degrade the performance of the test animals in either accuracy or reaction time. The inference is that man may be able to tolerate substantial amounts of radiation and still perform efficiently if the dosage is received over a sufficiently long period of time. A definite advantage in civil defense, military, and spaceflight operations. And somehow,
one gets the impression that the chimpanzee is proud of his contribution.
These types of experiments are still being conducted today. At the Armed Forces Radiobiological Institute in Maryland, a heavily irradiated monkey is forced by electroshock to run until exhaustion, as a model for combat soldiers' endurance in a nuclear war. In biomedical science, the use of animals as models yields at best unreliable predictions. Everything must ultimately be tested on people. As Roger Ulrich put it, there is no experiment other than the real thing. Yet animal experiments are duplicated in universities, government and commercial labs around the world. Trivial or absurd experiments are initiated. Alternative research techniques remain underdeveloped. And expensive new treatments are favored over preventative health care. The whole direction of modern medicine and research is dominated by the internationally powerful chemical pharmaceutical industries. Are we justified in feeling confident that animal experimentation greatly alleviates human suffering? Or does it perhaps pave the way for it?
Here in one of the hospitals affiliated to the Harbin Medical College, researchers prepare an amazing experiment, the transplanting of one dog's head onto the body of another live dog. This is the 5th such experiment. Their knowledge reinforced by the experience gained from 4 previous attempts and failures, the researchers try again, confident that it can be successfully done. And here is the proof that they were right. The small dog's head is now sustained by the large dog's body, yet their respective nervous systems remain unimpaired, and the characteristic actions of each are visibly unaltered. Knowledge gained from such experiments is of great value to medical science in its constant study of how to save and prolong human life.
Do we condone the widening exploitation of animals? Or do we act to end it?
The people here who have masks on are people who either aren't known to the police or whose activities aren't known to the police. Whereas with myself, I've already been to prison twice for Animal Liberation Front activities. Each of us spent a year in prison. And then in the spring of 1976, the Animal Liberation Front was formed, and that rapidly grew to be a much larger organisation, and now has several hundred members.
Since 1977, there have been more than 400 animal liberation raids in Britain, and many in the USA, Canada, Holland and France.
We'd feel it perfectly okay for someone to have broken into a concentration camp to free people, or to have damaged the torture equipment used by the Nazis. And, you know, we see the torture and imprisonment of animals in the same light. And I think if you look at it like that, it would seem probably that our activities are much too lenient rather than being extreme in any way.
Early this morning, one of our groups was in action in the southwest of England. The target was a factory farm, Sunnyside Poultry Limited. Here, many thousands of chickens are forced to live in very small wire cages. More than 100 birds were rescued. WWF has now transported these chickens to a place where they can live out their natural lives in freedom. The birds are receiving proper veterinary care and fresh food. If we call again about this raid, we will use the identification code White Fox.
When they first came out, obviously they were in a very distressed condition. They were very shy, terrified. They had none of the normal reactions of a dog. I went into the actual laboratory and removed 2 of the smoking beagles, and I was subsequently apprehended by the police and questioned as to the whereabouts of these dogs. By then, of course, I'd passed them on. They'd gone to safe homes, and the police, they made a great deal of the fact that the dogs were almost certain to die once they'd been released from the laboratory and from the sterile conditions. But we refused to hand the dogs back, and it's now transpired that they've spent, some 3 years at least, leading a perfectly happy and normal existence.
You tend to start going out and doing a little bit, you're leafleting or you're preaching to the few, and then after a while you think, what the hell, what's the point? You know, you're reaching so few people, you're doing so little good, and it's taking you so long, you feel helpless and hopeless, and you think, well, why should these poor animals suffer? All the tortures that we can impose on them, just because I haven't got the guts to do anything else. So you think, well, I could do more by smashing up that place or putting that place out of business for a while.
For kids, as they see it, walking in there and taking their research equipment, I think they've been really humiliated. Scientists at New York University say that we're stealing these animals as if they own them as property. How can they own these animals to torture them?
It started out with a raid by 4 people at NYU Hospital on Manhattan's East Side. That netted them 5 laboratory animals. It was a protest action claiming cruel treatment of the animals by the center. Tonight, hospital officials appeared uncertain as to whether there'll be charges pressed against the 4 Animal Liberation Front people who raided their lab. The stolen animals reportedly will wind up as gifts in homes selected by their abductors.
We have a cat, we have 2 dogs, and 2 guinea pigs. We took the guinea pigs because we wanted to show that we're not just dog and cat lovers, that we care about all the animals, and that they all have a right not to be tortured.
A society exploits other species without any regard to the fact that they are feeling creatures with nervous systems. This extends into our treatment of the human race. And beyond a doubt, I mean, one looks around and sees it everywhere, on my street, on every street. The oppression of animals is a sort of far extension of the oppression of people. And they can't be disconnected. This is what's so vital. And I think that a culture which was conscious of its oppression to other species would also be conscious within its own.
People who fought against slavery were called nigger lovers. We're called animal lovers. They were looked upon as cranks for thinking that black people should have rights, slaves should have rights. The same goes for us. We're looked upon as cranks if we say animals should have rights. They're very much up against the same arguments as well. These humans, these black people, these slaves have no rights, they're not human, they're subhuman. If you even mention animal rights, we're faced with the same argument. But they're not human, they haven't got rights.
I think we've struck the right sort of balance at the moment where we are concerned not to harm life in our activities.
When we set light to a place, which we did about 6 months ago, we staked out the place for about 4 or 5 nights because we wasn't sure whether there was someone in, a night watchman was actually sleeping there or not. In fact, there wasn't anyone there, and in the end we did burn it down.
I don't think it ever would be in the form of sort of indiscriminate bombing where ordinary people who aren't particularly involved in cruelty are going to get hurt. I think it's going to be more like the sort of thing where a cruel professor is shot on his doorstep. I mean, I think that would be a bad thing personally. I'm just saying how I can foresee what may happen if things don't change soon. Because, you know, we don't have control over what other people do. We've only got control over what we do as individuals. And people are very, very angry.
An agricultural research centre near Cambridge, England.
Hold that way.
Come on, come on. Quick coming, on the top. On the top.
It's this one. It's this one. Oh, no,
What?
Be careful.
Legs away.
Watch his leg.
Watch his leg.
It's all right.
Now push it.
Kick it, mate. Kick
Come
it.
on. Okay.
Hygiene free animals. What are these?
The next one, there's a thing in there with a plug.
And this is what they came for. Photographic evidence.
We are an organisation which has existed for just over a year now. We have over 200 members in the north of England. Our organisation is concerned with involving as many people as possible in these raids. That is why the invasion of the Agricultural Research Centre was done in the middle of a Sunday, at 12 o'clock on a Sunday in the open light of day. We are not afraid of the authorities. We are prepared to accept what the courts dish out. The leaders of anti-vivisection societies try to present a respectable image so that they can somehow get compromises out of sympathetic MPs. Compromises which will lead to maybe a decline in number of animals used in vivisection research. But we feel that this campaigning has continued over the last 100 years, has yielded no significant results. We do 4 of these, like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Pull it about 4. 5, 6, 7. Shout as you do it. 8, 9. We're not animal lovers. We respect animals. We respect our neighbours. We don't love our neighbours. We respect them. We respect their right to live. 8.
People are scared from other animal groups because they might face violence. Our organisation, we ensure that no member goes into any position without adequate protection. We found it has benefited our members a great deal. They're not as intimidated now.
Your opponent over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We understand socialist groups who say to us that you can't achieve anything under the present capitalist system. We understand this argument, and we feel we have gotten no illusions about the present system. 10 of these. 1, 2. Swing your body. 3, 4, 5.